Steve Horn's victory. Still vibing off that dollar refreshing win. Yes, it was. Defense looked really good.
Let me know if y'all can hear me. Testing, testing. What's up, fellas? I want to make sure our mic is good. I think we got what we need here. What's up, y'all? Let's do a quick sound check, Tran.
Says we sound good.
Oh, okay.
That's what people are saying. Yes, we did save the Big 12 from going 0-6. Who cares about the other Big 12 teams, honestly? I mean.
All right. Let's get started, man. So we did go we did go into San Antonio New Year's Eve. Got a dub. Happy New Year. First and foremost, Happy New Year to everybody. 2020. Hopefully it's new year, new decade, a decade of prosperity, and hopefully you guys had a good, wonderful, safe, and joyous New Year celebration. And what better way to celebrate than a victory over Utah, where we were 7-point underdogs. They've been recruiting like gangbusters on Texas soil. And we come out and we smack them in the mouth. A dominant performance, all three phases of the game, like I said in the brief recap, but really want to start off with the Alamo Bowl stuff. And we'll get into talking all things football. But first and foremost, just fantastic performance by the guys.
And one of the most impressive things that no one's really talking about is we didn't beat ourselves, too. We weren't highly penalized in that game. The pre-snap penalties that we normally got throughout the year,
that seemed like plagued us.
Which to me is very shocking because it's off of a long layover, and usually when that happens to non-disciplined teams, they usually they have way more a month later. So I was extremely impressed by how disciplined we were. Even they were buckling under the pressure and getting a lot of post-play penalties. And I think due to frustration of them getting just dominated throughout the game. I mean, honestly, it does get frustrating, especially when you're the team that's supposed to dominate the game,
I loved how fast they looked defensively. And this kind of started towards this, I would say, the second half of the Texas Tech game. If you remember, they were flying around, they were getting to Jet Duffy, and then they kind of kept that momentum going. And took it to another level against Utah. And you hear some of the comments like Malcolm Roach saying, hey, it kind of feels like we installed like a whole new defense. And what we saw, and one of the things that was alluded to on the broadcast was Texas is utilizing multiple fronts. Like there were times where we would line up in a traditional 3-4. There were times where we would shift into a 4-man front and shift over. And then, But it was really, I think it was perplexing for Utah to kind of figure out. And we would cut underneath their guards. We would blow up Zach Moss in the run game. And I just loved how fast and physical they were, knowing that they had to start with Utah's run and beating them up front and playing football in a phone booth. And it was kind of like the Georgia game where we're not letting that happen today.
Yeah, beat us with your arm, bud. That's what we said. Zach Moss didn't do anything. 59 yards? I think.
Yeah, we can pull up his stats.
I think it was under 60 yards.
Really? Yeah. So
Keontae had one run longer than his whole output. So, and then they tried to get cute and tried to beat us with the speed sweeps and things like that, and that's not going to work with our guys.
And look, we were well prepared because when I did my Utah prep, I talked about all the jet sweep stuff. They like to do jet sweep to the tight ends. They put them in H-back. They showed that. They were trying to do quarterback run sweeps where they would fake it, and we were ready for all of it, right? And I thought guys had good keys. They keyed on the guards very well. They were cutting underneath the guards. And then Coburn was dominant in the middle.
In the middle, yeah. They couldn't establish the line because of that big boy up front, and I think he's starting to realize how dominant he can be, which could be a little bit scary for Big 12 offensive lines coming up.
Absolutely. And Coburn was just an animal all night, unsung hero. Because the effort he gives you, it'll show up on the coach's film. Doesn't necessarily always show up in the stat sheet per se. I know Joseph Osai had the monster game and was just amazing, unbelievable. Malcolm Roach was really good. Taquan Graham finished the season really strong, by the way, his last two games. Because Taquan Graham was really good in the Tech game as well.
Maybe Coburn might have a little running buddy. He just needs two more.
I think they let the boys hunt, man. Because all this season we've been doing this whole, all right, we need you to engage the blockers, and even on pass downs, let's keep everything in front of you. And now it's like, all right, let's let the D linemen hunt. Let's let them eat. Moro Jomo was out there making plays.
Yeah,
I saw everybody getting in on the party. So these are things that are very, very encouraging to see. Right. And I think as we transition into a Chris Ash defense, because I was talking about this, I don't know if the brother Nathan Lott is on the chat, but we were talking about one of the articles that Ian Boyd had written regarding a defensive front. And I understand moving to, hey, let's clean up the fundamentals, a more simplified approach in regards to what our 4-3 under will look like. But going back to what's the name of the guy that was broadcasting the game? He's from NFL Live, black dude. He was broadcasting. I'm drawing a blank. Somebody tell me his name in the chat. But he kept driving on the point of it being multiple, right? And I think in the Big 12, you can't trot out this oversimplified defense every week because you can't play Kansas State the same way you play Iowa State. And you can't play Iowa State the same way you play Texas Tech, right? And we have the personnel and Louis Riddick. There you go. Louis Riddick was keying in on that, and he's an NFL guy. Thank you. Louis Riddick was talking about, like, you have to have multiple looks in front for the teams and the personnel you're going to attack, especially in this conference. And Texas has the personnel and the kids to do it.
Yeah.
They do.
They have the athletes. We've talked about it. We have 4- and 5-star athletes at every position. People who are recruited by SEC schools, all had SEC offers. These kids can play with the big boys. It's just that they gotta keep up the intensity for all games. You can't have those little midseason lulls again.
Absolutely. So guys, let's talk about the offense. I know I'm catching up on some of the chats. John and I just kind of wanted to start off with. Kind of
Caden Stearns also had a really good game as well.
Yeah,
and that's what we saw. We saw a healthy team for once, and since probably the LSU game, even though we weren't 100% healthy in the LSU game, according to rumors, Colin was injured during that game.
So before we get to the offense, let's talk about that because I saw somebody bring up the comment, or I can't see who it was, but somebody asked, hey, why did the defense look so much better at post-Todd Orlando? And does that play into it, right? I think, guys, look, I think you have to give credit first to Tom Herman. He's undefeated in bowl games, and he clearly knows how to get ready for these type of games with the extra practices and the extra time. Every bowl game we've played in, at least here at Texas, Missouri,
dominated
Georgia, and now Utah. The energy level has been through the roof all three of those games. And then you go back to when he was at Houston against Florida State, same thing, right? So he knows how to get people turned for these type of games, for that short month sprint to prepare. I also believe the health factor was big. I know Brandon Jones didn't play, but getting a healthy Caden Stearns to play cleanup, and then the matchup. I think the matchup helped us.
I also think just the rest itself. I mean, which may be indicative of how he's going to handle spring ball this year, because you know how it was supposed to be hell week, every single week, just constantly hitting. He mentioned something in his post game special that he was talking about. Well, we really didn't have any physical practices throughout because a lot of it had to do with the early signing day period, us trying to get people
they
locked down. Then we had a lot of just regular pad practices where we're not hitting. Then we had the family Fridays, and he said, we really couldn't. We had a lot of walkthroughs where we knew what we were supposed to do. So I think at this point in the season, we were ready to hit regardless of anything. So I think hopefully he learns from that, because I think going hard, I mean, you're supposed to build up. That's the way football is. You're supposed to start off pretty calm and then build yourself up to the week to where you're ready to hit. You're ready to play. And he's been coaching constantly 100% every single practice where it's wearing on people's physical abilities actually. So I'm hoping that's something that's changed in this new regime.
Absolutely. I mean, because you saw, Todd Orlando coached us in the Georgia game last year, and that was one of his masterpieces. So I do think that they did a better job of the blitzes from depth, controlling that.
I don't think we blitz from depth.
We really didn't.
Yeah.
Or if we did, it was much better disguised and much timed up a lot better. Because I don't have a problem blitzing from depth. It's just when you do it, when you're so predictable with it and you do it all the time, and teams can prepare for it, right? And you put all that stuff out on tape. But the other thing too was the outside contain was better, and that's where Caden Stearns comes into play. You saw him getting out to the edge, making those plays, and then there were some other guys that flashed in pass coverage. You saw Chris Adamora, who somebody else just mentioned. Scott Massey, good call out there. Chris Adamora had a pass breakup down there in coverage, and I think we lost Chris Brown midway through the game. But
ankle.
And Jalen Green went down at some point as well. But overall, guys they seem fresh. They seem to be able to fly around. And look, the injury thing was a problem this year. I know people want to say we're making excuses and all that type of stuff, but I was going to go to this. Do you think if Tom Herman could do it over again, maybe he doesn't go all in Hell Weekish the way they prepped for LSU? Because I think they were he prepared for LSU so hard in terms of the practices, the physicality, trying to face that beast. And we lost so many guys after that, because that was a war, right? And that's what happens like in the SEC too. Like when Alabama plays Auburn if they play LSU, then they typically will struggle against Auburn because they lose people when you have those heavyweight wars.
Yeah.
That's why I told you about look out for Clemson, Ohio State. Granted, they get a 16-day rest period, but those emotional and physical wars take so much out of you. I feel like if Tom Herman could do it over again, maybe he kind of dials it to save the bodies for the whole season. What do you think about that?
I don't think so. I just think his personality is he wants to
Full
win those
tilt.
big games. He'll sacrifice those little BS games because if he wins that big game, he has that to point to. That hey, I beat the big dog. But I mean, he didn't beat him, but he came close. I mean, they played.
They competed.
Him.
Yeah,
they competed. Sacrificed probably about 3 wins, I'd say, because I think we would have been way more competitive. I think we would have won the Iowa State game if we had everyone there. I mean, we should have won that game regardless. I think we would have been way more competitive within the Baylor game, and I think we would have been more competitive with OU, even though we only lost by 7 against OU.
I agree.
Someone asked, do you think that Utah was overrated? I do.
Yeah, Utah, and here's why. Because the quarterback Tyler Huntley made the comment about they were on vacation or whatever he said, and well, clearly you guys were on vacation in the Pac-12 championship game as well, because you got your ass whooped against Oregon in that game too.
The only solace that I could take from them is that they did miss 3 of their 4 defensive backs, and 2 of them are All-American defensive backs, and you can't replace those.
No.
But the thing is,
we didn't have Brandon Jones.
Yeah, and we didn't. I think he passed for 200 something yards. It wasn't like the pass was the thing that beat them. It was definitely our run game and our physicalness.
Bill, that's a good point on Caden Stearns. The late season injuries he had last year And because remember he didn't play that much even in the spring.
No.
Didn't practice very much in the spring. Didn't play much in the spring, and so I think it was a sophomore. It was a frustrating sophomore year for him. But for him to finish, to Bill's point, for him to finish this season healthy, and we get a healthy Caden Stearns in the spring, because Craig Nybar talked about this too. Like he's he's really good banged up. He's amazing when he's healthy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think
he was the number one safety recruit for a reason, and we saw him how great he was as a freshman, and he was great as a freshman, and he was good. He was good this year, but you could tell he was hurt. It seemed like every tackle he got up, and he got up very slow and gingerly.
Yeah. I mean, but also those are the kids you fall in love with because they lay it all on the line for the school, for their teammates. And so all we can be as fans is appreciative of that effort, right?
Yeah,
so
there's a Texas OU argument in this chat.
Oh man, DeGabriel Floyd has retired, medically retired from football,
And now I think he's doing athletic training as well. He has a website up somewhere. Yeah, Joseph Osai is a beast.
He brought the boomstick. Can we get Osai a beer? Not yet.
I think he's 20, right?
It was
Is the second year? He's probably 20.
I don't know, but
maybe 21.
It might be an NCAA violation.
We can't do it. I'm not doing it.
You know how they are. Drink some ranch. Guys, thank you for bringing up the ranch. Boss's Ranch, our wonderful sponsors here. We are very, very appreciative of them. And guys, as we continue, this sponsorship is really helping our channel continue to grow. One of our goals for 2020, I haven't set a date yet, but we're trying to get to 10K. That's the next goal, is to double again. When we were at 2,500, Tran and I said we were going to double to 5,000. Now we go from 5,000 to 10K. And just trying to, make sure the production value is better. Matthew's on winter break right now, but when we get him back, and just, investing in the channel and helping us grow and produce more content. I don't know if you guys have noticed, we are producing more videos now. I have another video I did on the Under Armour All-American game from last night that I will drop after this live chat. I will drop another video tomorrow on the U.S. Army All-American game. And all of our wonderful Texas signees who will be playing, including Bijan Robinson.
And hopefully Keely Ringo.
And hopefully Keely. We'll see. But I'm very appreciative of all y'all. So thank you for tuning in. Thanks, Gabe.
Whittington's still on the team.
Matthew said if you chug the ranch, I'll give you $100 donation. Hey man, your support here is enough, man. I ain't gonna pass out on the chat. We got a lot to cover still. So we haven't talked about the offense.
Yeah.
So we were going against one of the top rush defenses in the country, if not the top one. Now, with a grain of salt, we all think that Utah was overrated. But when you're going against they were number one for a reason. They were consistent. You don't win 11 games, even in a Power 5 conference. It's not total BS. But Keontae Ingram, Roshan Johnson, Sam Ellinger, and this offensive line went to work in the run game. Mm-hmm. And that is something you can build on going into next year.
I think having Cade Brewer back was huge.
Yes.
Setting that edge for us.
Jarrett Wiley has improved a lot as well. Both of them.
Over that month. And a lot of people who don't think that bowl games are important, that's what those extra practices are for. Also to get healthy and get more experience, and also nice presence from all the sponsors. But he looked a lot better. But he's young, he's raw, he has the body to build into a nice blocking and catching tight end, a full spread tight end. I like how we also mixed it up. We actually ran up the gut as well. And the design runs from Ellinger's part were actually really good. They're strategic.
I like the design runs. I liked they were for him, right? Like, you know, some of the times you see guys like I was watching the bowl game, the Under Armour game last night, and when they had like one of the faster quarterbacks and they run more of a quarterback sweep, like you see with Lamar Jackson, with power guys like Ellinger, that like delayed QB power, QB draw look, it's very, very effective.
Reading the linebackers to see if they drop.
Absolutely. And you kind of mix that in with a little RPO action, and you're running a backside slant behind that, and you have these linebackers kind of in no man's land. I liked mixing that in. I felt like at times throughout the season, whether it was for Sam, because, you know, we did find out he was battling some sort of rib issue. If it was for health reasons or they didn't want to wear him down like the year before, I don't know. But that's what he is. That's when he's in his bag like that. And I know 18 people are like, oh, he only threw the ball 18 times, and he wasn't super, super sharp throwing the football. He wasn't. But we got ahead. We were beating their ass. There wasn't a reason to throw the ball all over the place.
I liked the fact that we came out of the game. We wanted the ball first. We didn't defer. First play we did was we took a shot to Colin Johnson right away over the middle for like a kind of like a little seam route. I think it was like 30, 40 yards down the field. And then once we had that, we started running the ball against them. I think we had one pass to 7 straight runs or something like that.
Yeah. But, hey, Christopher Green, thank you for the donation. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Steven, I don't think there's any HEB is just kind of proprietary to Texas, so Bosses is only a HEB proprietary item right now, but at some point, you know, if y'all continue to buy it up, mate, who knows? But if you're ever in Texas or stop by, hit up HEB. Mike Roach said that Ringo will not sign with Texas, but hopefully we get Alfred Collins.
Yeah.
It sounds like we might get Princely too, especially with the transition. With that's something that may work out in our favor for Chris Ash, since it's a defense that he wants to play in. So we'll see. I want to clear something up because Matt, you bring up something about Keontae Ingram. Keontae Ingram, and I've been defending this brother all year long. I felt like so many fans got on this thing, and it's because of the LSU drop. And I know he had a fumble later in the game. He had a terrible LSU game. But we got stuck in our head that he wasn't playing well, and it's just not true. The 2 games, the very next game after LSU was Rice. He had 13 carries for 74 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a good game to me, considering the limited work. The following week against Oklahoma State, he was the best player on offense that week, outside of maybe Devin Duvernay. Mm-hmm. But he kind of carried us in that game. Now he had some runs of inconsistency throughout the year, which also factored into his injuries. He was battling a lot of injuries. Remember, he was taking the knee brace on and off, but he broke a lot of big runs. And I think one of the things that Texas fans battle is his running style, because he is more like a Le'Veon Bell, where he kind of tries to wait, cut back, and everybody's like, oh, he's trying to break the big run. He's not running hard. There's the perception that he's not running hard all the time, but it's a running style. Roshan there is like see hole, hit hole, run hard, and there's different running back type of styles. But when you look at Keontae Ingram's production, he led this team in touchdowns this year. He had over 800 yards on the ground, averaged 5.9, basically 6 yards a carry, caught almost 30 balls, and had another 3 or 4 touchdowns in the air, including the one he caught in the Utah game. So we've got to, in my opinion, we've got to have some proper context when evaluating Keontae Ingram. And yes, Roshan Johnson was probably more consistent in terms of hitting the hole, but you also have to factor this in. When you're the backup running back and the offensive line, and you're getting hit when you're Keontae Ingram, you're getting hit in the backfield to start the game, things start to progress, and then you come in fresh, you're going to get a more advantageous position sometimes, I feel like. So there's a lot of nuance to it, but Keontae's running style actually helped in this game because the run he bounced, he was patient. He didn't just run right up the hole.
Yeah.
He waited
for that hole and then busted out.
Absolutely. He also jumped over a grown man. Mm-hmm. Are we forgetting? Did y'all see the thumbnail?
A defensive back. One thing I want to point out is if I were to tell you at the beginning of the season that everyone would be injured but except Keontae, and we found a converted quarterback, and that's the argument on who's better. Do you think that that's a good problem to have?
It's a good problem to have. Absolutely. Look, and before we get into that, Caleb Seal with a $20 donation. We thank you. I'm sorry, I was in the middle of my short rant, but we appreciate the donation. Thank you for supporting our channel and Hook 'em.
Yep.
The running back room was such a big concern before the season. You know, in terms of the depth, right? And then we were seeing all the injuries. Remember, Keontae was injured all the way through fall camp. He wasn't even practicing. The only person that was practicing was the person that didn't play, was Jordan Whittington. And then he ended up having the groin issues and having surgery. So Roshan moving over for the good of the team and helping out, you got to give a lot of credit to Stan Drayton too.
No, well, you got to give credit for Roshan for doing it with a smile. It's like, hey, whatever I can do.
Right, stepping up. But he had to get coached up too.
This job may be better than his Zeke job because Zeke was a natural talent regardless. He had to turn someone. Yes, he's very talented and he's one of those guys who could probably play both offense and defense. But it's still kind of hard to just say, hey, we're going to teach you fundamentals on holding the ball and protecting the ball. I don't think he had one fumble this year.
No. He caught the ball well, didn't fumble, and was pretty good
learned
in pass pro.
Yeah, pass pro. Someone just asked, anybody from y'all that's going to be drafted this year? I think, yes. Devin Duvernay, Colin Johnson, Brandon Jones. That's about it, right?
For what?
Us getting drafted. I said 3.
What's going on here? I'm sorry, I got lost in the. I think I lost the chat thing. Are we still good over there?
Yeah, we're good over there.
Okay. Oh, it signed me back in. I don't know why I did that. So who's gonna get drafted on the roster? So off the top of my head, Brandon Jones, Devin Duvernay, Zach Shackelford will probably get drafted.
You think he's gonna get drafted?
Yeah.
What's his pro rating for center? Do you know?
Mm-mm.
I just don't think he'll get drafted. I think he'll make a 53 because everyone's looking for big guys. How
many centers are ahead of him I haven't gone through mocks or anything. He's
center.
not coming out. Creed Humphrey?
I thought he was a senior.
I think he's a sophomore.
I thought he was the only upperclassman that they had.
I don't think Creed Humphrey's coming out.
Okay. Well,
I think Shackelford's getting drafted. Brandon Jones for sure. I don't
think Malcolm Roach will get drafted.
I don't think he's gonna have to. Because one of the issues that he'll face is what position will he play? Mm-hmm. Because he wasn't necessarily dominant at any one position, right? So that's going to be something where NFL teams. By the way, I want to give a shout out to somebody super random that scored a touchdown in Week 17. Andrew Beck of the Denver Broncos got a touchdown this week, courtesy of I believe Drew Lock, which is funny. So
in between his rapping,
shout out to Creed is a sophomore. That's what I thought.
I said Colin Johnson. Colin Johnson will get drafted just from his size, but I think Devin Duvernay will, just by raw talent, I think Devin Duvernay will probably get drafted first. But then again, it also depends on what the need is for the team.
Let's talk about Devin Duvernay. Devin Duvernay.
I have nothing negative to say about him.
Look, do you remember when, and I'm not saying he's this guy, but I'm making, because he's not as fast as, I don't think he's as fast as the guy I'm getting ready to mention. He doesn't play like him, but in terms of the lift this particular person had when they got to the combine. I remember when Brandon Cooks came out of Oregon State, and he showed up at the combine, and he had the compact body, he cuts the 4.3, he's catching everything. And remember, he just skyrocketed up the draft. and he was a guy who had a super productive last year at the school, right? I can kind of see this because the NFL, I think the NFL scouts, especially as dialed in as they are with the major programs like a Texas, they know the lack of production that Devin Duvernay had year 1 through 3 was not on him.
It's not on him at all.
Right.
We couldn't get him the ball.
And they also see, when they finally recognize that they have this guy, look at his production now, right? Ask yourself, what are his weaknesses? Legitimately and I know this wide receiver group that's about to come out is going to be stupid this year. It is. Even with all that being said, he can be somebody that's such a valuable member of a good team. And I think he can probably rise up as high as maybe the second round. And depending on the 40, right? Because if he comes out there and cuts something stupid, and you already know he's going to lift well, he's gonna look good running the routes. I mean,
and you know he's going to run fast too because he was a champion of the 100 meters.
Absolutely. So Devin Duvernay, from a skill set perspective, he's one of the most complete receivers we've ever had at this school.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, we've said this.
We've seen him high point the ball.
We saw when we saw him high point the ball in I think it was the Tech game. I think you and I both looked at each other and we said he's going to make some NFL quarterback very happy.
Tracks everything.
Yes. He's a quick twitch guy who catches anything and everything that's near him. And once people see how he works out in the combine, unless he just sits and eats all. Yeah, but he just doesn't seem like the kid. He just seems like a kid who just keeps his mouth shut and just grinds. That's all he does.
Let's see. So, Matthew, thank you. Shaq is ranked 9th to 11th in center rankings. Duvernay reminds me of a faster Bolden. And the thing, too, is he reminds me of Golden Tate a lot, the build and how he runs after the catch. And when Golden Tate came out of Notre Dame, he ran a low 4.4. And he's a guy who, again, he doesn't always look as fast to Bill's point, but but you always see every year Golden Tate has a 70-yard touchdown where he just runs away from everybody. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's not that fast, but then he's
running away from NFL talent.
Right. So I agree with that. He's a fantastic player. Oh, Colin Johnson's going to get drafted. We forgot about him. Colin will get drafted. Where he goes, I don't know. I think Colin did help himself a little bit in this bowl game playing and looking healthy. And that's the other thing, too. I think that did have a factor in our offense bogging down. Those games he missed.
Of course.
Then Cade Brewer goes down. So now we're not getting the blocking on the edge. So Colin's the other person we missed that we didn't say as you guys were going through the chat. Tracy Williams, thank you for bringing up the carries. So Tracy said Ingram had 19 combined carries between the Baylor, Texas Tech, ISU, and OU game. Think about that.
19?
He said 19. I don't know if that's accurate. So Tracy, I'm trusting you on your math, but he still finished with 850 yards. So if he had gotten his normal touches,
if he got 12 touches a game on those games,
and those are games too where Roshan wasn't even getting touches. Now some of those actually. Let me stand because there was one of those games, Texas Tech. I think Roshan had like 23 carries or something like that because Keontae was dealing with the injury. So some of those Roshan was getting carries. But like OU, for example, where Keontae got 2 carries and Roshan had 8 carries, like you're not getting the ball to either of them. You know what I mean? That's where it's like, all right, we got to start. And that's where the coaching changes because you can't lose both of those guys. I can understand when Keontae's dealing with some and Roshan's getting 20-plus touches. Great. I'm cool with that. But it can't be neither of them are getting touches. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So both of them probably should have higher stats.
Especially for an offense that predicates themselves on run first. Setting the line of scrimmage and keeping teams.
Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate it. He said they're accurate. Thank you. 5.9 yards per carry. That's very, very good.
I'll take that all day, every day.
Absolutely.
First down every 2 plays.
And credit to Roshan, too. Roshan was over 5 yards a carry. Roshan was at like 5.3 and had 7 touchdowns. I mean, so the running back room, we are straight there. I'm excited. Hey, Chad, thank you, man. Appreciate all your support. You've been chiming in for a while, too. Cat videos. Out of the three, Brady, Harrell, and Yursich, who would be your top pick? So I was always a Harrell guy, but because I never knew, I never knew Mike Yursich was on the table. Mm-hmm. But now that I know, I'm not trying to be the Texas Homer guy, but I would take Yursich out of that group. Now knowing that it was somebody we ultimately went and poached from Ohio State. And don't let Ohio State fan tell you otherwise. We poached him from there. They wanted him back, Ryan Day and those guys.
The reason why I like that pick is because he's balanced. Graham wants to throw the ball all around. He does run the ball, but it's more so like a 60-40 split. Yursich or Brady. I just don't know if has Brady really called plays? Is he the one making the play calls?
No.
Or play designs?
Insmiger still calls the plays. Now Brady, it's similar. It's very similar relationship to what Yursich was doing with Ryan Day, where I'm gonna put all the puzzle pieces together. I'm gonna design everything. I may even put the script together. But in terms of game flow and all that type of stuff, I'll call the plays or whatever. But in terms of how we're gonna attack certain opponents, that's all their blueprint. Also, everything that goes into how they're utilizing certain personnel groupings and all that, you have to give Joe Brady a lot of credit there. The difference between Joe Brady and Mike Yursich is Mike Yursich's experience in the Big 12, and we've seen him call plays. We've seen him run the whole show, so to speak. I know he was partnered up with Gundy, but we've seen him have more control. Joe Brady is a guy who was kind of like an analyst for the Saints, who then comes into the role he has with the LSU Tigers. So
everyone was asking like the Brady over Yursich. Honestly, I don't think we even had a shot at Brady. It's not like he'd be upgrading his position because LSU is on par with Texas.
Why would Joe Brady leave?
He wouldn't, especially when they're offering almost $2 million. I mean, he's like,
it's a better situation.
Yeah, and he knows Louisiana. All Louisiana, and from what he does, he's now a legend there. Yeah, he's legitimately a legend. I don't think we really had a shot at him.
We have to give them credit though for going out and taking that risk and going after somebody who nobody, like I say all the time on this channel, nobody knew who Joe Brady was before this season, other than the people that are super in the know with the Saints.
Well, yeah, with the Saints.
Nobody, like, they went and got somebody. Like, if we had gotten somebody like that last year, we would have had to do serious homework to know who the guy was. But there wasn't even enough evidence that's like us going and plucking somebody from the 49ers staff that we've never heard of and just having faith that they're going to come in and redesign our whole house. You know what I mean? And then when the house is done, it's like one of those. We both are married, so we watch a lot of HGTV. But when they come back and they redesign your whole house and trust in that we did everything, you're going to like it, right?
Just off of the 5 things that you told us.
Let's see. Jordan Whittington needs to be our Christian McCaffrey. Look, they don't have to. They gotta get him healthy. They don't have to go crazy. My thing with Whittington is I want to see our guys in this offense be explosive and have the opportunity to make plays in space. And look, with some of the things that may be coming down the pipe, there may be opportunities for him to play in the slot. Like, there's going to be job openings in this new offense. He could be a guy he could be our Swiss Army knife guy, hopefully. Hopefully that's the case. Well, yeah, I mean, I also think he's going to have a major impact for us on special teams.
Yeah, I was going to say return man. Definitely him and Deshaun.
4 TDs and rush over 2 this Saturday. Has anyone ever gotten remotely close to those stats in an All-Star game?
What did Leonard Fournette do? I know he had like 3 touchdowns.
Look, and I know there's a lot of hype around Bijan, and I'm.
It's only maybe because he averaged 27 yards a carry.
Right, and it's a lot. We've got when we start comparing guys to saying he needs to be Adrian Peterson, like, he doesn't though, because we just got off a bowl game where we had a running back take 13 carries for 100+ yards, jump over a grown man. We have another running back who we just talked about that's a 5-star who didn't play. We have another converted quarterback who may or may not, but he's proven
he
can tote the thing,
big.
right? Like, I need Bijan Robinson to come in and be the best player possible that he can be at his pace and his time. Because my issue is when you start blowing people up like that and they don't, like Jake Smith. Like, everybody was like, Jake Smith's going to be Jordan Shipley right off the gate. And it's like, let the kid develop and let's see what he becomes. Like, and because what happens is as soon as they don't end up like the player you comp them to, I've seen this with Texas fans. It's like, oh, he's a bust, and we move on to the next guy. Because some of y'all are gonna do that. And you're gonna move on to Kamar Wheaton, be like, we need to get Kamar. And I'm look, Kamar Wheaton out of DFW in 2021. I want to get him, but what I'm saying is, let's temper our expectations. I want Bijan Robinson to be the best Bijan Robinson possible. Now, if we're comping skill set,
he looks the part, though.
He does. He does.
He looks like he's ready for the college game, too.
He does. But it's a jump. It's a jump.
Yeah, Bijan was averaging like 25. I think it was like towards the 6th game of the year, and they were playing Suero. I think that's how you pronounce it, the Keely Ringo's team.
Mm-hmm.
And the only play that he had less than that was like it was first in 15 at the 15-yard line, and he got tackled right before the goal line.
Bomb Squad, where do you think? I think Ringo's going to end up at Georgia.
Yeah, I think
That's
we're all preparing for that.
But you never
if he wants to play right away, I mean, we got one side that's
you already know what time it is. Shout out to Dorian. What's good, brother? Yeah, man. I hope Roshan gets a fair shot as well, man. Wherever he goes. But you know what? To Rojo, he will always be a Texas favorite for. There's not a lot of guys that have made the type of sacrifice that he made, and if he whatever he wants to do, whether it's move back to quarterback, and he says, you know what, I want to go in and study. I want to learn the position. I want to break myself down so I can get in that competition.
I think he's earned that. I think he's earned that right.
He's earned that right. Because theoretically, like, look, 2021, when Sam is moved on, that's going to be a hell of a competition. And we saw another one last night, and y'all going to see my video on the All-American game. Hudson Card looked good.
Mm-hmm.
Hudson Card looked good.
Too. You know who's also looking good? And just even the warm-ups,
Jalen Monroe.
Yep.
Yeah, Jalen Monroe looks good. Like, so all these guys are going to be ramping up, and I think if Roshan, we're acting like Roshan wasn't one of the most highly decorated high school quarterbacks coming out. Mm-hmm. He has earned that right. Absolutely. And so I will always be indebted to that brother. He saved a lot of games for us this season. Mm-hmm. When we were down and out and banged up at that position and we needed somebody to step up and take and carry the mantle right away. Now, we'll see what they do with a guy like a Daniel Young. Because in this Yurcich offense, we need H-backs, we need fullbacks. They will use those type of positions. Maybe we bulk up Daniel Young. Say, hey, because he's another guy. Does anybody remember Daniel Young's speech before the season when he was like, I got to earn my those are him, Roshan, those are the type of people you can turn this whole program around with those personalities. I think we got a... Oh, Bomb Squad, thank you for the donation. Appreciate it. Yeah, these kids that are selfless and that just love the program, it's easy to root for them. Mm-hmm. It's easy. It's easy to root for Roshan. It's easy to root.
And I'll start with Gerard Hurd.
Gerard Hurd
was a big one like that. And one of the ones that no one really talks about is John Bird. I mean, John Bird. Mm-hmm.
And people throw, and you know what? He's a guy that people throw a lot of shade towards because he didn't have the greatest career at Texas after his freshman year. But he made a lot of sacrifices, and he's contributed a lot to the program.
Yeah.
And he's always been they always talk about people and their culture and the teammate. My only issue with the John Bird stuff was when you're playing him over at Brennan Eagles. Mm-hmm. But that's not on him.
That's not on him.
That was a Drew Maringer issue. But people that have contributed to the program. Trent said one of the Texas basketball videos coming soon. I think we have our Big 12 opener tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. against Baylor, right? So yeah, well, I gotta get ramped up. I watched some of the High Point game. I know that sounds funny, but I gotta get ramped up and get the basketball videos out. Thanks for the reminder.
Yes, Drew. I think if he comes to Texas, he will be starting day one. Tom Herman loves the long, rangy, athletic defensive backs, and he checks all those boxes. I mean, I think it would be it would look really good to have him and Jalen Green on each side. Legitimately could put those guys on an island and say, hey, the quarterback and the wide receiver have to beat these two. But with that said, I think we have a 30% chance. It's probably 70-30.
So the bigger thing,
Baylor question.
I want to get to FT's question here. Thanks, Trent. Appreciate you. About what does Ash do for our defense, considering the underdeveloped DB talent we have lying around? That's probably the biggest reason why Todd Orlando was fired. We talk about that all the time. Guys not turning their head, and that was
not playing the ball. If you've been in this program for 2 years and you can't play the ball, there's something wrong with the coaching. That was the quote from
Tom Herman.
Paraphrasing, but
so Chris Ash being a DB guy, a DB guru, somebody who's big on technique, fundamentals, and look, they've developed DBs very, very well, going back to his time at Ohio State, and theoretically, that's something where Tom Herman's looking at is, hey, if we can just get these guys, and the other thing is the scheme. It's the scheme and the technique. Now, the scheme going to the press quarters look, trying to protect your guys a little bit more, that's going to be part of it. The other thing is when the ball's in the air, we always talk about moment of truth, right? We had too many times where the moment of truth, guys just getting freaked, right? Or they jump too early or they panic, right?
Or they grab a jersey trying to feel where the receiver's at or something like that.
If they can get those things cleaned up, that will go a very, very, and it's not a question of athleticism.
We have beasts.
We didn't see dudes getting burned to where it's like, oh, he just can't run with him. I never caught myself saying that unless it was like a linebacker, like Jawan Mitchell getting mismatched on a wide receiver, right? But in terms of a defensive back, like when Deshaun Jameson got turned around, it's because he either didn't know what was going on, he got caught looking in the backfield. It was all tech. Deshaun Jameson, y'all saw how explosive he was on power. He's one of the fastest people in the conference. Yeah. So when he's running, when he knows what he's doing, he has to run straight with somebody. He can keep up with anybody.
And he has makeup speed. You saw that in the West Virginia game where he actually got burnt, made it back, and had that amazing one-handed.
He's a guy we got to look out for too, because I think he's a guy who reminds me a little bit of Jordan Lewis on the Cowboys if he can get his mind around and really focused on mastering that nickel position. Now it's going to be a hell of a fight for that position because you have Josh Thompson coming back. You have Keaton Crawford coming in, who, if they can get him coached up, he's going to be a hell of a player. There's going to be a lot of options to move around there that Chris Ash is going to want to deploy on certain situations, depending on the personnel that we're facing. There's going to be times where we really won't need that nickel person, and they want to go more of a bigger safety type of look. So he's going to be somebody that can really help us there, because one of the things I've seen from Deshaun Jameson, as frustrating as he was in coverage sometimes, he has natural ball skills because he was playing wide receiver, right? So he will catch the foot. We saw him make plays on the football. So I just want to see that development there.
Love Overshown, Luke. Overshown's fantastic.
Overshown's going to be a star in this defense, I think.
Do you think he's going to be outside linebacker?
Yes. Yes.
I think that's his natural position. I think that's where he needs to lock in and be that Kenneth Murray type. Faster. I think he's probably faster than him.
Yeah, and he's got great range.
And he plays the ball well, too.
He plays the ball very well.
Because he used to be a safety.
But he also has great instincts. And he diagnoses, he gets through junk well, I feel like. He's also a really good blitzer. There's a lot of good things about him.
Fast. Yeah. I'm just excited about him and Osai. We just need that middle lockdown. Which a day probably. He played
He
pretty
played a
good.
little bit. But Court Jaquise, who was the walk-on
The
guy
walk-on.
who earned starting snaps, those are some guys that they'll say I've heard in going to the new scheme when they play more of that underlook and they kind of protect the middle linebacker to just roam and make plays on run game and basically clean up inside zone for him. He's good at that.
Okay,
And
good.
we saw him. So, whatever you guys want to do. I think so. A lot of people talking about Epps on here. I could see Malcolm Epps moving to a flex position. That's where I hope to see him. That hybrid inside wide receiver tight end type
I
of
just
look.
don't think he has that mentality to be physical enough to be a tight end, a legit tight end.
Maybe not a full time. I'm talking about though, like how we used to use
Jermichael
Finley. And at one point, I'm gonna bring back a blast from the past name. He didn't kill it at Texas, but he ended up killing it at Arizona. Dan Buckner. I don't know if you remember him.
No, I do. He wore number 4.
We wore number 4.
Yep.
Dan Buckner was a guy who they used to flex a little bit. That's how I would use. But I don't think.
I'd like to see him like a Jimmy Graham, even though he's not as fast as him. But
No, but like I only want to see Malcolm Epps outside when we're in the red zone. I don't think it's fair to consistently ask him to win from a route perspective. Nor is it just seems it's a lot.
I wouldn't mind him being on the inside if we were running trips, just to throw people off a little bit. I wouldn't mind that.
Good point, Mike. Thank you, guys. And I forget to do this all the time. Make sure y'all smash that like button. Look, if we're gonna get to 10K, I need a lot more likes so the analytics generate so more people see our content. One of the biggest things I hear is, why didn't I know about you guys sooner, right? And so those of you who share our videos and these chats in your Longhorn groups, thank you. Those go a very, very long way. Those of you who have been sharing the videos on Reddit, we've been blowing up a little bit on Reddit. Thank you. Those things go a very, very long way to help, because the likes, I'm not just begging for likes for the sake of seeing, people like my video, but it helps the algorithm recognize and gets the content out there. So when people are searching for college football videos, and I try to do my best to ID these things with the tags and whatnot, but I just really appreciate you guys smashing that. So everybody that's in the chat, because y'all are in the chat strong. Y'all wouldn't be sitting here if you didn't like what we were talking about or enjoying the conversation and sharing in the chat box with other fans.
So someone said Adamore will be on the field next year.
Francis, thank you. Thank you for sharing in the group. I don't even think I'm on the Reddit. I think I do know that one. Yeah, thank you.
Epps needs to gain confidence and realize the side. Luke, I think he started doing that towards the end of the season. I started seeing him be a little bit more physical and start boxing people out. And I think it started with the Iowa State game when he got that confidence boosting, I think, game. Well, not game winning, but he definitely put us up touchdown where Sam rolled out and he broke out too with him and caught that ball on the ground too. He used his body.
He's got a lot of things he can help us with. Like, and I think all of us as fans, the only reason why we give Brother Epps such a hard time
because he's so big.
It's not just being big. He has athleticism.
Yes, I know he's not utilizing his natural potential.
Yeah,
I loved him just from the Colin Johnson video from the Jug Machine. Who were they playing? Horn.
Yeah, because he has a horse. Yeah.
I think they were playing horns though.
You're right. You gotcha. Yeah.
But just his personality, you need one of those guys around there that he's always the talker, but he's probably the nicest guy you'll ever meet.
You can tell he's a Houston boy. He's one of the funniest people on the team. Guys naturally gravitate to his energy, and Epps has a lot of it. Sam loves him, right? He's fun. He is funny, right? And he's now, and I like some of the goofy guys. You can't have everybody that's just like serious and stuck up. You need those guys to help keep things loose. And so Malcolm Epps, personality wise, I think he's going to be a blessing for us down the road. I really, really do. It's just, we got to get the development out there and whatnot. But, we got to get Rage Cactus back in here. Somebody texting if y'all don't know where he's at.
No, that dude was cracking me up last time.
Let's see. What else do we want to talk about? We did cover Ringo. From an NFL development standpoint, I think that's an interesting conversation because somebody was asking about Osai. Osai, look, I was I feel like I was low key the president of the fan club.
You loved him from the second we got him. No, this is true. This is absolutely true. He's loved him from day one, and I was like, yeah, I mean he's good. I see it, and he's dominating Houston. But I was like, will it translate? But no, I mean this whole year he's impressed.
He's blossomed.
Yes,
and it's been a tough year for him because he's been battling injuries. He's played every position in the front seven outside of defensive tackle. And so I know a lot of fans are like, why don't we see him rush more? Why don't we see him rush all the time? He was trusted to do so many things, and he does so many things so well. He was one of our best coverage linebackers. They trusted him to cover when other people couldn't cover the tight end. He could. Mm-hmm. When people like we were playing him at middle line. Now I'm not saying that we need to do that next year. Hopefully, he is our best natural pass rusher. Period.
He's an outside linebacker. Him and Overshown should be our outside linebackers.
But when you have a guy that can do everything, look at the brother on Clemson, Isaiah Simmons. Not saying that Joseph Osai is that fast, but the brother Isaiah Simmons and everything that he does for Clemson. And you want to talk about somebody who's a Swiss Army knife on defense.
Talking about
Isaiah Simmons on
Simmons,
Clemson. Yes. Yeah, the brother they said runs a 4.3. And he got the pick that he got on Justin Fields in the game. And Justin Fields had no clue he was over there.
On the sideline.
He's like, I thought the guy was rushing. You know what I mean? Like, those are some of the things that Joseph Osai can do for us. Now, yes, I do want to see him predominantly rushing the passer and being that 8 to 10 sack guy for us, but you saw he had like 90 tackles this year. He's an incredible football player. And the thing that they were talking about, that Louis Riddick and the crew was talking about during the game, they were raving on him, Louis Riddick and those guys, about his love for the game, having learned it at a later age, and how he wants to be around football. He loves practicing. I thought those were really cool anecdotes that they were sharing about him that kind of translates onto the field, and you see it because he's also a high IQ player. When you have a high IQ player that's also extremely athletic, it's a very, very dangerous combination.
Someone, I forgot who it was. I wanted to say Brandon, but it wasn't Brandon. But someone compared him. He was an A&M fan at work. Compared him to Von Miller, and I was like, that's pretty high praise. I think if he grows into his body, he has the same skills.
Von Miller's an all-time special player. Yeah. So again, I hate making those type of comps, but in terms of what he can do,
that came from an A&M guy, though, which
that's
is
true.
Crazy
that's true.
To me.
But in terms of what he can do, he's going to be special. He is giving us what that's a good point that Xavier Jones brought up. I think Osai can be to UT what Chason was for LSU. I mean, you saw how Chason was used all season, but then when they really, really needed it, what'd they do? They sent Chason after the quarterback. Yeah. And did you notice that LSU is bringing back Divinity for the game? You know, they activated him.
Surprise. Surprise. Failed a 17 drug test.
Where's my man Mark Vasquez at? They're going all hands on deck. They're like, you know what? We about to play the monsters that are the Clemson Tigers. Yeah. Divinity, you're back in.
Yeah. We gotta get some pressure on them. We
gotta get some pressure on Sunshine.
You almost heard me. I said only one game.
Herman flat out called Osai future captain. Absolutely. I think he even joined leadership council at the end of the season when
he'll be a captain next year as an upperclassman.
Yeah, my man Edward Stoker was good, baby. 10 years younger than I love you, brother. Happy New Year. Where do you think Roach will fit in the NFL? I think ultimately Malcolm Roach, I think he's got to decide what weight he wants to play at the next level first. Because I think he will be best utilized in a 3-4 defense. The question is, depending on his weight, to me, I think he can either be a 3-4 defensive end, more of an attacking 3-4 defensive end, or he can be an outside linebacker if he slims down a little bit. Because the one thing, and so listening to Malcolm Roach talk, and those of you who don't know about his parents, his father is a highly regarded football coach in the state of Louisiana. He's got high, like the IQ thing. Remember, he was playing like middle linebacker his freshman year, so he's played all over. The thing with him that will give him a shot is his IQ and being able to be having that versatility. So at the next level, it is crazy.
I think the way for him, I don't think he's getting drafted. I think the way for him to make it on a team is first through special teams. Whether it's punt block or anything like that, he needs to drop a little weight and build up his speed for him to make a team.
Arakpo is a good comp, but my thing with Arakpo though, in terms of the comp to Osai,
he's a power rusher.
Arakpo wasn't covering people though.
Yeah. He was straight up a DN. He was a powerful guy.
I swear to you, I watched Joseph Osai. I think it was the Kansas game. One of those games, flat out flipped his hips on the tight end and just carried him down the field on a wheel route like it was nothing. We actually saw him in the spring game.
He broke up a pass in the spring game
on Jordan Whittington.
Yeah,
where he was flying down the field. So, Bill, I'm glad you're back. So there's something you brought up earlier about how good the defense is going to be with all the returning starters coming back next year.
Earlier this year.
We talked about that in the last chat, and let's reiterate that.
How young we are at defense.
Because for those of you who don't remember, and you can chime in if you do, I gave you the breakdown of how every 3 years we switched defensive coordinators since Will Muschamp left. Every 3 years we switched defensive coordinators, and all of them have done a home run, bang-up job in year one. And the common denominator is been the returning talent that they all inherit. And I can make the argument that out of all those defensive coordinators, because now this is the fourth, we have Manny Diaz, Vance Bedford, Todd Orlando, now Chris Ash. I believe Chris Ash is actually inheriting the most talent.
Oh, 100%.
Out of those now 4 people, right?
Maybe Manny Diaz's first year.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's maybe. So, bro, the defense should be good. Especially since everybody played. Everybody played, and you're also getting all these defensive linemen coming in, and you might get a Princely and an Alfred Collins. Hopefully.
Yeah, Princely
we'll see.
Kind of turned his...
He's turned around, right? But you're getting a Vernon Broughton. You're getting a Prince Dorba. On top of Taquan Graham has come alive. You have a nose in Keandre Coburn. You have a real one.
He's a pro.
You have a Joseph Osai. You have all the safeties. So the defense, I just felt like no matter who's calling the defense next year, they should be awesome. The question is, can they sustain that when people start to develop and go to the draft? Mm-hmm. Now, the good thing is there's not a lot of seniors. Even going to next year, theoretically, can we have sustained good defense? The way that Brent Venables has locked on at Clemson, where he's been able to keep the party going. Mm-hmm. That's what we got to focus on, because we have not been able, whether it was Manny, whether it was Vance, whether it was Todd, we haven't been able to keep the party going with the defensive coordinators. Everybody's been a rock star year one. People getting raises, talking about, hey, you should be up for the Broyles Award. Well, Chris Ash is probably going to be in that conversation if all things go well and people stay healthy. Mm-hmm. So what's it going to look like as they continue to develop? We'll see. I miss Sergio Kendall. He was a dog. And he would have been a dog on the Ravens if he had stayed healthy. I mean, well, obviously with the accident and his neck situation. But
I thought he fractured his skull.
I thought it was just neck or skull or whatever.
Yeah, I'm praying for the Keely Ringo. You will see a video of Jonathan Tran having a party. I've been on the Keely Ringo bandwagon for 2 years now.
Yeah. No, the same way I was on the Osai fan club. You were on there early.
I called him when I saw the 7-on-7. Yeah. I was like, "Did you see the 7-on-7?"
Agree, Bill. Agree. None of those defensive coordinators came in with this type of defensive line talent.
Yeah, Ringo's going to Georgia.
And it sounds like he probably signed, right? I wasn't gonna bring this up early, but and I know I'm about to start a whole fire in the chat, but y'all see Chandler Morris is going to OU, and he was and guess the biggest moment of his life. Who was he thinking about?
Texas.
You love to see it.
Oh well.
Thanks for the branding, bruh. I was surprised he didn't go with his daddy to Auburn, but he is going to OU. So it kind of softens the blow from them losing Vandergrift. But I don't know if he'll ever play with the Spencer Rattler stuff going on, but we'll see. I want to talk about Sam because I feel like there's starting to be this little division within our fan base. Folks talking about, hey, Mike Yurcich is coming in. We're going to have a new QB coach. Sam was a Tim Beck guy. Should we open up the competition? Tom Herman makes the comment about Casey Thompson, saying he thinks he's a championship-level quarterback if he ever had to play. And you kind of, and then the Sam goes and gets the evaluation for the NFL, which I think he should do. Where is your energy towards number 11 coming back senior year, and just the folks that think that it needs to be opened up and we may have a more beneficial offense, or that doesn't make sense, a better offense or more effective offense if we had somebody with a different skill set? I'm just asking questions. I'm not saying anything.
He was successful with Taylor Cornelius. I'm serious.
I know.
Do you honestly think Taylor Cornelius is better than Sam? Does anyone in the chat think that Taylor Cornelius is a better quarterback than Sam?
I hope not. But go ahead.
I really hope not. He was successful with him. The guy had Tylen Wallace on the outside.
I like Sam Ehlinger more than I like Mason Rudolph. I know Mason Rudolph was a third-round pick. I don't care.
He was, 100-something yards away from passing Colt McCoy's all-time total yardage record. He's 2.
I think there's a lot of upside for Sam here. Look, Sam's bummed out right now with the Tim Beck stuff, and that's totally understandable. The amount of time, I don't know if anybody saw the picture of Tim Beck with Sam and Casey Thompson. Those three people were very, very close.
Extremely close.
Sam, Casey, Tim, right? Like they're a unit because they're in his ear, including Casey, when they're on the side.
I wouldn't be shocked if Casey transferred to NC State.
I wouldn't be shocked either.
I wouldn't be shocked.
He has a very, very strong relationship. So when you factor all that in, now I understand that when they install whatever Mike Yurcich wants to do, and especially since the offense will look some of the same. Now we did utilize some certain personnel formations that were really exciting to see in the Utah game, but it's going to be there's going to be a lot more tempo. Yurcich is a tempo guy. He actually kind of got restricted from doing some of that stuff by Ryan Day in Ohio State that he wanted to implement in terms of some of his ideas for run game. But he was the passing game coordinator. Some of the things he wanted to do that he was doing with Justice Hill and those boys at Oklahoma State. I think all that will only help Sam Ehlinger, right? We've seen statistically all these Oklahoma State quarterbacks, what their numbers have looked like. Oh, and by the way, Sam Ehlinger finished this season with 32 touchdown passes, 10 interceptions, and added another 7 touchdowns on the ground. He finished with 39 touchdowns after having, 41 touchdowns the year before? When's the last time? We haven't been in Texas history, there's only 2 other people that have even matched that type of production.
Vince Young
and Colt McCoy. That's it. So and look, Joe Burrow, I'm not saying Sam's going to be Joe Burrow. That's not what I'm saying. But Joe Burrow, his junior year, as a redshirt junior, had 14 touchdown passes and had maybe a couple, 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns. And look what he jumped to. There's something to be said.
Probably in that
A&M game. Yeah. So there's something to be said when you have a senior quarterback in a conference where OU is going to be breaking in another quarterback. Now, granted, Spencer Rattler might be an upgrade from Jalen Hurts. We don't know. He's also very inexperienced. But all these teams are going to be breaking out. We will have to deal with the Brock Purdy's of the world. And for whatever reason, we got dotted up by the dude from TCU. Max Duggan, and he'll continue to get better. But Sam Ehlinger should be the man in this conference next year. You know, all things considered. And hopefully Baylor does right by the brother Charlie Brewer and encourages him to retire.
I was calling that before the game. I was shocked that they ran him at the 4th and 1. You remember? Didn't I say that?
You called that out during the Sugar Bowl.
They really ran it and made him dive in the end zone like that. He's had 2 concussions. Turns out he had 3 at that point, and then they're trying to say that was a neck injury. That did not look like a neck injury. That looked like that dude was knocked out, and they just right? Didn't it look?
Well, there was some malpractice going on. Anytime you have a college kid with 3 concussions in 1 year. Mm-hmm. You remember how they got on our ass Sam Ehlinger's freshman year after the OU game?
Yeah.
And that was like that was pretty much a national story. Where's that energy for Baylor?
Yeah, and that was during a New Year's 6 bowl game.
I'm with you, Robert Davison. VY is the best dual threat college quarterback of all time. You can't tell me anything else. I agree with you. He also beat one of the greatest teams ever.
Technically a professional team.
And look, Vince Young got slowed down by, his own self, and because I don't think enough people want to say that he needs to take personal responsibility for how he handled himself. But Jeff Fisher was a quarterback killer, period. And we now know enough about all these young quarterbacks to know it is about the situation you go into. Lamar Jackson, case in point, when you go into an organization that knows what they're doing, they have a plan, you are geared for success. If Vince Young had gone into a situation where he was going to be embraced and they had a real plan for him, instead of saying, we want you to play this West Coast passing scheme.
Rage Cactus.
Rage Cactus was good.
What do you mean? What do you mean USC had 0 wins that year?
Rage Cactus for the win. RG3, best dual threat college QB in my opinion. Well, you're a Baylor fan, so you got the statue up there. I'm not going to argue with you, but RG3 never did what Vince Young did on the stage that he did it on. Just facts. Now he does have a Heisman, so you can do with that what you want.
And VY, how many games did VY lose?
Spencer, how do you feel about Baylor? How do you feel about Charlie Brewer? Honest opinion from a Baylor fan. Let's go through here. When he left, I think that was. I thought you were a Baylor fan. Somebody in here was a Baylor fan. Oh, you're a Texas fan that feels that RG3 was a okay. Hey man, that's cool. Rage Cactus, my man said USC had no wins. I wasn't trying to give you a hard time, Spencer. I was just asking. But I'm a Vince Young guy.
Thoughts on Matt Rule?
Matt Rule didn't have a good game in the Sugar Bowl.
No.
He didn't coach well. He made some bad decisions. He started wasting time. He spit on himself. He had the timeout situation that was really rough. They were outmatched physically. I think that was clear. And they waited too long to try to attack those corners with Denzel Mims. I didn't see enough. That was their only counter against Georgia. But in terms of him as a coach, I mean, obviously he's built up those programs, and now he's one of the hot names in the NFL circles. Obviously he had his time with the Giants, albeit 1 year, but it's always reassuring for these NFL people when a college coach like that has a little bit of NFL experience and the type of guy he is. He's a builder. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Ja Rule, y'all are funny. I think it's going to be really, really interesting, though, because he's never been a guy. He's always been the underachiever. He's never been the guy with a target on him. I think it's different coaching when people expect you to be good, when people expect you to be in contention for the conference. That's different. One of the videos I made earlier today, for those of you who are Cowboys fans, I made a video about the Jason Garrett stuff and, Urban Meyer potentially being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys or whoever. And I said there is a skill to coaching talented teams that are loaded, or a skill to coaching teams when there are high expectations. People always say, well, your team, you have the most talent, you should win, right? But you got to manage so much, right? There's an art to it as a coach. Some coaches are only good with only coaching the up and coming teams, right? Mm-hmm. Getting the best out of the little guys. But once they have to coach all these stars, they get overwhelmed. I've seen that with coaches in sports. I think you have too. What are your thoughts on that?
I think he's just a great coach, honestly. I think we were going back and forth in our group text about it.
Sure.
Someone was saying him for the Giants. And I think that, honestly, there's less parity in the NFL because there's salary caps. And you could, especially if you're in a big market, you could still bring people in with the same payment. In college, it's harder when you're at Baylor recruiting against A&M, against Texas, even TCU, let alone Ohio State coming and plucking a whole bunch of people from the DFW area, and also there's LSU and Alabama knocking on the door too. It's a lot harder. It's easier to quote unquote recruit without him being a head coach having to recruit. He doesn't really have to recruit. He has GMs that go there and do it for him. That they talent evaluate.
There's so many people evaluating. Absolutely,
and he can actually focus on the X's and O's, and So I think he would be very successful at the next level. At a head coach, I don't know. Maybe if he started at because what was he when he was at the Giants the first time?
Assistant offensive line coach.
Offensive line coach. So if he was a coordinator, do you think he'd be better if he started off as a coordinator first before head coach? I know he doesn't want that.
He's not. Yeah, he's too high profile to be a coordinator again, unless he were to fail down. He's going to be a coach at some level. But
do you agree with that assessment on him being able to focus on the X's and O's as opposed to recruiting? Because that's a huge part of a head coach's job in college.
I agree, but I think one of the things you got to do in the NFL, and this goes to my point with the Cowboys, you also got to be able to motivate grown men and be a lead, not just being a leader of men. I think Jason Garrett was a leader of men to a certain degree because he did bring some stability in terms of at least they were hitting that 8-win plateau. There was a time where we were 5-11 every year. But being able to get guys fired up, right? Like you see the Ravens right now. And granted, a lot of that is Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram coming in. Mark Ingram's, people don't talk enough about the infectious energy he's got. But every time they were in a big game this year, they wanted to beat the crap out of somebody. I never saw, there's certain teams where you see they're loaded, but they don't have that big game energy, right? LSU has that.
Yeah.
When you watch LSU play, they because they've sold me. When you talk the amount of trash that they talk before the OU game, and they come in there with that swagger, and they're like, yo, we're punching you in the effing face.
Yeah.
All right? We want you to be scared of us. We are everything that you thought we were.
Yeah.
We are everything that you thought we were. That's the type of there's only so many coaches that can generate that type of energy out of professionals. Now, not everybody, some people, there's two types of big game coaches to me. There's those type of coaches that just get their teams crazy motivated. We saw that from Jim Harbaugh early in his career in San Francisco. We've seen that from and Pete Carroll as well. Pete Carroll was good at that, and still good at that. And then there's the coaches that come in there with a wrinkle. Sometimes they get a little anxiety, but they're not the most motivated guys, but they come in there with that wrinkle. A Bill Belichick, a Nick Saban. They come in there with when they played the Cowboys and they were like, oh, y'all special teams, y'all don't know what to do when we do this. We're going to do some shit you've never seen before. Nick Saban, same thing. So how do you get grown men to get motivated for those big moments in time is a big thing. And that's what Matt Rule's going to have to prove if he wants to be a high-level NFL coach, in my opinion.
So what's your thought processes on him going to New York?
I understand it because since he comes from that organization, they're familiar with him. And the type of personnel they have there, like a Saquon and a Daniel Jones, who are quieter guys. Like now, Saquon's a star, obviously, but like I think he can manage that group. They're young, right? He's a builder. New York needs a builder right now, in my opinion. So I think he would be if he would go there, he would. I think he would actually be a better fit for the Giants than he would be for the Cowboys, in my opinion. I really do.
Because the Cowboys already have that.
The Cowboys already built.
Yeah.
They need somebody. They need a Coach O. They do. They need somebody like Coach O to come in there and be like, like Vince Young said, let your nuts swing.
Yeah.
They need that guy to come in there and make, like, we need to be cocky right now. Because you guys are already built. You guys already have the talent. But Matt Rule is like, yo, we don't have a right guard this week. I need you to be Superman this week. You know what I mean? Like stuff, it's a different mentality, I feel like. How many more years does Tom Herman have? Hopefully a very long time.
Yeah, if he doesn't go to the Big 12 championship, I think he may be gone.
I think it depends on the situation. And the reason why I say that with Tom Herman is because you said it best when you made the pass-fail comment. Mm-hmm. This season's pass-fail. It's pass-fail grade. They fail. However, once we hit that Tech game, what do we say? This is the beginning of 2020. Everything we do right now is for 2020. They finished the season strong. When you beat a team like Utah, granted Utah was overrated. I think we've all established that. But the way they looked in the Tech game, they finished strong. So that's 2 games in a row. You finished the year with 2 wins, and both wins you were blowout victories. You were dominant, you know. So and you showed that energy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So they got to come out with that when they go to Baton Rouge next year,
and in
September.
Still think that if we're not in the Big 12 championship, I think he's gone. Because that means we'd probably have to go in the Big 12 conference. Win 7 or 8 games in the Big 12 conference, and that I'm just adding on 2, so we'd have to have 9 wins, technically, regular season.
But it's just tough for me because I don't like then we go to who we go after.
Exactly. I'm in your book, but I'm just saying who I'm thinking will be actually the people who make the decision on this, because like you said. Crystal Conte didn't. This isn't his guy.
That's true. He didn't hire him.
Yeah,
Mike Perrin did.
Yeah, so he could always say, it's not working out, so I'm going to get my guy. And if that's the case, hopefully we give Kyle Shanahan a nice call.
That's our dream coach, Coach Shanahan. I'm catching up on comments real quick. All right, see some of y'all are still on here. We can go for a little bit more. How you feeling, Tran?
Sure.
How y'all feeling about the national championship game? I know we had brought up Coach O when we talked about Clemson a little bit in this matchup. I'm curious to see how everybody feels about LSU Clemson. Do you think LSU, because we were talking about how they get this crazy energy in big games. We even saw it in Austin, but we get crazy, which is why I think we matched up so well against each other. We were jacked.
Everyone's been waiting 6 months for that game. Even LSU fans were. Mm-hmm. I mean, because I have.
But I'm talking about like our team, like our kids, like we play up. Play up to that, right? Like, but LSU, like I feel like the better the opponent, the better they've played all year, mm-hmm. right? Like, and now this Clemson team, who's on the door of 30 consecutive wins. Like, think about that, Texas fans.
That's amazing.
30 consecutive dubs, and potentially.
If they win this game, if Clemson wins this game, they're going to win probably 44 straight games because they'll be back in the playoffs next year. I don't see a team that's going to beat them.
I love what Drew said. Goliath versus Goliath. That's a great way to phrase this matchup.
Wow, Clemson 37, LSU 39.
See, you guys are split.
Dang.
My man Cajun Thomas said LSU still getting better. Hey, I think we are going to go to the LSU game this year. By some way, somehow, we're gonna get them.
I'm gonna try to get my brother's tickets because I don't think he'll drive up there. I'll drive up there. I've always wanted to go.
That's a bucket list. I want to tailgate.
It was either Texas
Death
or
Valley.
Florida. That's who I wanted to go see.
I want to go.
You know it's gonna be a night game.
We got to get Billy back on here. So Billy just got married, which is why y'all haven't seen him in a while. But he's gonna want to talk about his team being in the national championship game. So we'll have a little powwow with him soon. Clemson has the better coaching QB. That's a hot take. Better QB. So y'all think you think Trevor Lawrence is better than Joe Burrow right now? I think they're both elite, obviously, but I don't know if I've ever seen anybody play better than Joe.
Just on a different level.
I've never seen anybody in college throw the ball like this consistently for this long.
The thing about Clemson is they hear that and then they just turn around and they have that attitude. They were saying the same thing about Baker Mayfield. One was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, when
3 years ago.
Yeah, because they played him back-to-back years.
Yeah, they put and apparently the D lineman got on the bus and said, "Y'all are gonna get smacked around by us." Like got on to Oklahoma, like talking about LSU being the being the bad guy. He went on their bus and started talking noise and then backed it up in the game. So I mean. I think they're licking their chops at this, and I think if Clemson has to have it, they have to have multiple turnovers, not just one, multiple turnovers to beat this team, because I think the offense is just that good, and I don't think you can keep them out of the end zone that long.
Trevor wasn't invited to New York, but that's because he played shitty the first half. Let's just be real.
He didn't play anyone too against
but you also saw the last half of the season Trevor Lawrence got in rhythm, and that's part because they get to play in the ACC where they got to basically tune themselves perfectly for the playoffs, just like they did last year. And they did it, and that's why I picked them to beat Ohio State. And there were some people that got a little upset about that, and I was like, look, it's all about when you peak. Right? And Clemson understands the race.
It seems like LSU hasn't peaked yet, though.
I know.
Just keep on getting better.
I know. It does seem like LSU hasn't peaked. But I'm telling you, Trevor Lawrence showed me something in that Ohio State game, bro.
He showed me.
I didn't think he had all that. He had some grit.
Yeah.
It was an ugly game for him.
He got popped in the face, and he got up like The Undertaker, like you said, which was, he impressed me that game. Shout out to Jake Fromm too. Probably played his best game against.
And Big B made a good point. Clemson gets that crazy energy too. Dabo, that's one thing Dabo does. Dabo will have those kids running through a wall in these big games because we've seen it. We saw it remember the first year they played Alabama and they lost, but Deshaun went off, and it would just seem like Alabama, because that Alabama team was sick, right? And They lost, and then they came back the next year and won. But Dabo gets them up no matter. Like, I guarantee you he's going to be like, look, I'm just excited for the matchup because both teams are going to be at it. And there's going to be, again, it's just like Clemson, Ohio State, where there's so many NFL guys on the field. You can make the argument from Clemson's perspective, I don't know if LSU's defense is as good as what they saw with Ohio State's defense with Chase Young and Jeff Okudah and Sean Wade. Granted, Sean Wade got kicked out. The way Arnett was playing,
Malik as well.
So I mean, overall, man, they're good.
Yeah, they've like I said, I think they had the tougher test coming into this game.
Oh, for sure.
But I mean, LSU has had tough tests this year. It's not like they're
LSU's
not
played.
tested.
LSU is the most battle tested team in the country.
Yeah, they've played tough teams. They played Texas at Texas' strongest. They've played Oklahoma and just wiped the floor with them. Georgia wiped the floor with them. Florida beat them comfortably.
Beat them comfortably.
Yeah, comfortably.
Yeah. Florida hung around because they dominated time possession, which is what Clemson's going to kind of have to do.
Auburn and Alabama.
Auburn had but Auburn actually had. Coach Steele came up with a great plan, and they got really physical with LSU. But I think LSU used that game as energy to move to kind of learn from their weaknesses at that point in time. I don't know if you could play the way Auburn played them in that game. I don't know if you could play LSU like that again. Like they were doing press man like every play, jamming them. They were jamming Jefferson. They were trying to press in the slot.
They won't do that at Clemson, but they will rely on their front seven to get pressure.
I'm trying to go back here in the chat. This is gonna be. Is Chuba coming back? I've been hearing mixed stuff about him. I know Tylan Wallace is coming back. The field was a mess in the Auburn game. I do remember that as well. But you got to give them, and I know some of you LSU fans don't like to give other people credit, but you got to give the brother Small. And look, Derek Brown and those dudes were playing really well, man. Mm-hmm. So you got to give them some credit, brother. I understand how sloppy that field was, though. I'll give you that.
They're playing in New Orleans, right?
Just like, I mean, but some of these LSU fans, man, like, now you know, it was a sloppy field, but you know, or it was the air conditioning issue. Like, I mean, sometimes people do make plays on y'all. Y'all are all-time team talent wise. I get
You're in the national championship for a reason. We're not discrediting you.
But
discrediting
there's
your team.
been some times where people have given y'all some stuff. Okay, I appreciate that. What did Bill say? Clemson defense is better and fresher due to scheduling. LSU defense has taken a beating all season long. Yeah, I mean, y'all are funny, man. He said, the chat's filled with closet LSU fans. I have noticed, though, to be fair, there are a lot of folks, I think either they're from Louisiana or they have family that have a very, very soft spot for LSU, just in general. Because it's not like we're rivals, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, just like you're a Florida guy, like, it's like you, if you weren't a Texas fan, you have the very, like, I saw you in there locked in watching the Orange Bowl when I came into the room.
Whatever.
But it seems that there's a lot. I've noticed that when we had Texas LSU week, and a lot of people joined us. There seemed to be a lot of people that had a soft spot for that. I did see the news of the violations when I was on my way here. It sounded like there was some money being exchanged at Georgia. What's going on with Georgia? Did they got in trouble? Can you look that up real quick, Tran?
Oh, I hope that's us putting all this out, and then Keely Ringo comes to us.
What happened with the Georgia stuff?
Did Georgia get money? You're saying?
They got in trouble.
Georgia.
I was driving here when the thing popped up on my phone. He said, "I've got close friends." Y'all are hilarious. I've got close friends who are Arkansas/LSU fans. I don't even know that such a thing was possible.
I'm not seeing anything.
Spencer, I can see that. And I think I've seen that from a lot of Texas fans. Just the respect level for LSU and how they play and growing in appreciation when you see them progress throughout the season. After they beat you, you do grow appreciation. Although I don't think Oklahoma fans have an appreciation for how LSU plays. No shade, just truth. Georgia paying players.
I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing anything. Imposed fine 7 hours ago for recruiting by. So they opposed their fines.
Oh, they got a fine.
Paid a $10,000 fine, that is the biggest BS fine I've ever heard.
It's probably they ain't gonna If it's
just recruits $10K, more than that, I'm sure.
What? If it's just a $10K fine, then that's not even news.
Free apparel 3 times. It's free apparel. That's stupid. They should be allowed to give recruits free apparel.
But it looks like it was just a $10K fine.
Yeah, that's it. Reduced official visits by 4 during the current recruiting.
Yeah, they ain't gonna mess with them. I will say though, speaking of Georgia, we got to give that brother George Pickens some credit. number one on Georgia. He's cold, and he was a guy who I learned about him last year when I saw him play in the Under Armour game. But he's so smooth. He reminds me a little bit of AJ Green a little bit, but faster. And he's just smooth in and out of his cuts, and he was killing Baylor.
He looked good.
But he got loose on Stingley in the LSU game. I know the brother got suspended in the first half because of the punch he threw. I think it was in the Georgia Tech game or whatever. But in the second half of the LSU game, he was getting loose. I think he's a good player. Really good player. Matthew Miller said 10K's a quarter of a player.
Seriously.
Baylor didn't want to be there. I love it. Hudson Card is going to get his 5th start. Hudson Card and the thing with Hudson Card that he's doing right now, where he may justify it, he's been blowing up the camp scene all through. And then he has a great senior. He came back from injury. Senior, remember they were going to shut him down. He came back. Then he leads his team to the state semifinal, and they lose to the juggernaut that is North Shore. Then he comes out and looks great in practice
for the Army
for the Under Armour Bowl.
Under Armour, sorry.
Yeah, and then he balled out last night. I'm talking about George Pickens on Georgia. He's nice. That brother's nice. And sometimes I'm a big look the part guy. Have you ever seen what I mean by how a dude looks in his pads? You can just tell the way it's oh, that brother's he look.
No, so you're talking about Pickens, right?
Yeah.
So the way I could have just turned it on at the end of the game when he's standing on the podium. If you look at him, he's lean and his arms are extremely long. So just if you guys can look at the trophy ceremony and see him standing next to Kirby, it's his body looks like a outside wide receiver.
Yeah, he's a freshman. He looks like an NFL wide receiver. He really does, like an outside lineup. I'm about to get loose on. I'm about to break you off real quick. Like that, he looks like that now, right? So, man.
Yeah, I've heard some good things about Alfred Collins as well.
Other assistant coaches. I've heard that we might let go Jason Washington. I've heard that Jeremiah George might have a chance to stay on. I've heard Andre Coleman. I've heard Tyron Carrier from Houston as a wide receiver coach option. I believe Stan Drayton.
Huge pickup.
I think Stan Drayton and Herb Hand are solid.
Yeah.
I just like the fact that we're going to 5 coaches, five on each side of the ball.
Who do you want for a D-line coach?
Frank Oakham would be like my go-to. However, Oscar Giles has recruited well recently, and the D-line did come alive when they let him hunt. My whole thing with Oscar Giles is just let the boys hunt. If you're gonna let them hunt, if they're gonna play like that, the way they did the last 2 games, Oscar Giles can come back. He's doing his job, and Coburn continues to get better. My biggest thing with it is they need to get Coburn to an all Big 12, potentially all American level, because he has that type of potential. And that's on your position coach to get you there, whether it's technique, condition, all that, right? I'm fine with Oscar Giles as long as he can continue to get the best out of these guys.
Ash
and
wants
let him
2
hunt.
defensive line coaches.
Yes, I did hear that. I did hear that.
One for the interior, one for
because I think he's going to handle safeties, which is why I'm worried about Craig Nybar. Because Ash wants to coach. He's going to coach one of the positions himself. And so I'm assuming he would do
just
DBs.
the safeties or all DBs?
I think he would do the safeties. I think he would have a corner coach, a linebacker coach, and then the 2 defensive line coaches. Because I think he wants a DN coach and he wants an outside pass rush and an interior coach. From what I've heard. How well will the defense perform against a Joe Burrow LSU, especially with healthy players in this new scheme? I'm very optimistic about what Chris Ash can do. I don't know if anybody will perform well against Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow less. So next year.
Oh, Joe Burrow. Oh, my bad.
So,
go ahead.
I just personally, I don't think that they could be as good as they are now with losing Joe Burrow and also losing one of their receivers. Yes, they will have two more of them, and they'll probably backfill with someone who's not necessarily as equally as good as Jefferson, but can fill his shoes a little bit. But then also with Moss improving, I think their offense will be fine. But I just don't think that someone who has ran this the way that it's run, I don't think it'll be a fine-tuned machine.
Question is, how good do you think Miles Brennan's going to be? He was highly recruited and is somebody that has been playing a lot recently in all these mop-up games, and he has a lot of potential. But how good do you think Miles Brennan's going to be? That's the big question. And and I think they'll know early, because if not, then they'll try to either go. I think they have the other kid coming in that's Brad Johnson's son, but he won't be ready. Do they hit up the grad transfer portal and get another transfer? But this all is to me, all this revolves around how good Miles Brennan's going to be. If he plays, if Joe Brady gets him coached up, then everybody got problems. But there is going to be some level. I agree with you. There will be some level of drop off from.
He's been
the way Joe Burrow's throwing football.
He's been almost perfect.
Right.
I don't have the stats in front of me. How many interceptions does he have? I know he had one against us.
On the season? I don't know, maybe 5. He had some picks, but
how many? What's his touchdown to interception ratio?
Oh, you're looking it up right now.
$55 touchdowns to 6 interceptions.
5,200 yards. Jesus,
that is ungodly.
Yeah. With a 78% completion percentage. That's like.
Do you think a sophomore's going to really come in and do that?
Can you do that? Can you replicate those numbers on NCAA football in the video game on Heisman mode? I don't know, bro.
I don't think so.
Let's see. We won't go until the 2-hour mark here. I appreciate y'all.
Where are we at right now?
1:42.
Okay.
So about 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, De'Aaron King to LSU. Oof.
Yeah, but he doesn't throw the ball like that. That system. De'Aaron King's gonna go somewhere, but he's got to go somewhere Yeah, Heisman mode. Hell no. Jamie Newman is in the portal. Why did Jamie Newman go on the portal? Did I miss something? I didn't. It's not like I was watching a whole bunch of Wake Forest, but that did surprise me. Jamie Newman, that would be intriguing if LSU got him. I will say that. But De'Aaron King to me would be he's gonna go to Oregon. That would be a good move. Mario Cristobal and those guys. I like Chris Atamora, Hector.
Top 5 defensive coaches I want. I agree with you on Frank Oakham. I really do.
Oh, for defensive line?
Defensive line. Adding him in there. Linebackers coach.
I like the guy they had there. We'll see. Jeremiah George, for those who don't remember, was very good. All Big 12 player at Iowa State earlier in the decade, in 2010, 2011.
I'd love to see Akina back. I don't know why. I just would love to see Akina back. I'm an Akina guy.
He's not coming back.
I know, but I'd still love to see him back.
Yeah, Newman to Oregon would be a good move. Jet Duffy's in the portal. Yeah, he's in there too. Big 12 Geniuses Texas back. We're not getting Larry Johnson.
We're not getting him. Sorry, we're not.
Ohio State will send the bagmen for him. Nah, that's the one dude they ain't losing. Not after all the money he's put in the league. Mm-hmm. No. And I tried to lobby for it at first, but then when they started talking about how important he is to the program, especially in recruiting. I mean, when you're Larry Johnson, you just walk in the room and it's like Bosa's, Chase Young, Hubbard.
Yeah.
Where do you want to sign, son? You want to go to the league?
Yeah, you want to go to the league? Come learn under me. I'll learn you good.
I don't think we have a shot at Larry Johnson. But then again,
Dwayne Akeen is not coming back. He's happy in Stanford, I think.
But then again, is Texas back? Why are you being so annoying, man?
Is Texas back?
We look back to what? Hey, we back to winning bowl games. I'll put it that way. I would love Akina back.
Let's get Bryant Westbrook just to get
so we can get Keely. Yeah.
Just hire him as an analyst.
Yeah. No, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Yeah, guys, like I said before earlier in the chat, for those of you who may have missed it, I will be posting a very quick, I think it was like a 10-minute video I made on the Under Armour All-American game. There were a lot of players that caught my eye yesterday. There was Deion Sanders coaching against Ed Reed. And it was a lot of fun to watch. Steve Mariucci was there. It was fun. And then tomorrow morning, we have the All-American Bowl, which will be fun. And we got Prince Dorba, Bijan, Andre Carrick. And then Zayman Offer was selected, but he's injured. And Keely, there's some people we got to keep our eye on. Is Alfred Collins in the game? I think he's in the game.
I think he is.
So there's some people we got to keep our eye on tomorrow. Emmett Jones, I believe from Kansas, who is could be in the mix for the wide receiver position coach as well. And he's been a gangbuster in recruiting DFW. So that would be a home run for us. Marcus, that's a good question about somebody addressed that earlier, and I forgot to talk about it. Joshua Moore. So I did see somewhere on social media, I think he was with the team in San Antonio. I could be wrong on that, but I think I saw that somewhere on social media. I really hope he returns. Mm-hmm. I hope he doesn't feel like he has to go start his life over JUCO or anything like that. Like, hopefully our staff and our culture, we learn even from like the Reggie Hemphill Maps thing. It's like, dude, hey, we took a year off with you, but he's got all the potential in the world, measurables.
Yeah.
And he was a guy that was coming on right behind Lil Jordan Humphrey in that position. For those that don't remember, he was our backup H before he messed up his shoulder. So
is he I think he's the player that he wanted to live out his brother who died dream and play for Texas? I think he's the one.
Well, his brother plays for. Did they have another brother? Because his twin brother plays for Houston.
The older brother. Their older brother.
Oh,
died.
Their older brother. Oh,
and I think there was a story about that, and he says, "I want to live that."
Somebody confirm that. I did not know about Joshua Moore. If that's the case.
Because they're from Yoakum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm almost 100% positive that he's the one who. So I think he wants to be here to live out his older brother's dream. And we were trying to get him when he his other brother when he was transferring from A&M, right?
Oh, somebody confirmed. Yeah. Confirmed. Thank you guys. Well, I learned something new. Thanks, Tran. I didn't know that about Joshua Moore.
I think that's why he's probably trying to fight to stay here as much as possible.
It sounds like they'll get the gun stuff cleaned up from a legal perspective. And look, man, they got to get these brothers second chances. Well, that's how you learn in life, man.
Well,
within reason.
Braxton Miller was one of Tom Herman's guys, and he got into pretty big trouble for the DUI, right? Mm-hmm. Didn't he get a DUI and they tried to bribe the cops or something like that?
Was it him or JT Barrett?
JT Barrett.
Yeah.
It wasn't Braxton. Yeah, you're right. But and they gave him a second chance, so I mean. that's almost as bad as having an unregistered gun.
Oh, that's probably worse.
Worse, bribing a cop.
Well, after DUIs are bad.
Yeah, it's very bad.
Don't drink and drive.
Yes.
It's our public service announcement today.
How would I feel if Dwayne Aquino returns? My brother learned under Dwayne Aquino. I'm a huge fan of Dwayne Aquino. So, I think he teaches really good technique and a physical corner. So, if he did come back, I would love it.
Jordan Whittington, I think that's a guy. Like I said before, depending, and that's one of the things I have to continue to study in the research.
What does Matt Rule look like a pug?
Oh boy. Center next year. That's a good question. I either think we hit the portal. I think there's a few options. Either you hit the portal. Kerstetter would move over, but then you got to get a new right tackle, which might be Denzel Okafor. He'll be a senior. Rafidi Girmay, I don't know if he's ready. He didn't look like he was ready in the spring. But then again, player development, Herb Hand, cross-train guys, we'll see. And then Jake Majors is coming in. But I don't think Jake Majors has enough meat on the bone to compete right away. But he is going to be early. Right now, without knowing what's available in the portal, I would probably say Derek Kerstetter would at least be your first team center to start the spring.
Herman already said it.
Okay. What else are we looking at? Jordan Whittington. Look, I think Jake Majors has a bright future. Now we'll see what happens with Brockmeyer boys too, because, we got a crew coming in potentially in 2021. Hopefully, so.
Brockmeyer may be the top recruit in the nation,
in
right?
2021.
Yeah.
Depending on recruiting service, of course. Tope, I don't know where his future is going to land. I mean, I think some guys get put in a now or never situation. Tope is one of those because he's been here a while now, and this spring, if you still don't see guys cracking the 2 deep, those are some of the people that you start to look at. All right, maybe he becomes a grad transfer option in the portal. I mean, just being real, like you haven't seen a whole bunch of those brothers play a lot. So,
and Herman's already said that he's going to probably entertain the portal for another left guard. He's already said that, right? So,
let's see, Zachary Evans. I will say this: he impressed me a lot last night. He impresses me every time he plays football. He impresses me. It's not on the field with him. Although he did look fast as hell last night. He really looked fast, even on the screen pass down the sideline. He just 25 yards against other elite high school players, where he just blurs right by him. But I actually think hopefully he understands the gravity of how much he is messing up his situation potentially. And because, I said this, I talked about him in the video I made, but when you don't play in a state championship game because you fought your coach, and then you have the drama of fighting the coach earlier in the season and all the things that get said, and I love the fact that he just owned it, and he's like, I've been stupid, I've been immature, like, I can't do this, I can't act like this. And look, Vince Young, there's a thing that's going on. I haven't seen the whole thing yet, but on the Players Tribune,
I watched it last night,
where he was talking about like being in that, like all that attention, all that, and some people don't handle it well. And when I'm telling you, the moment that ESPN made him the #1 overall player, that went straight to his head. Hopefully, this is a learning and a teaching moment for him, and I hope he can stay connected with Dion, because it seems like Dion's really been in his ear and trying to talk to him about, like, hey, kind of like with what he had with Des Bryant before Des lied. But, like, brother, you can have all the swag in the world, but you got to be coachable, and you got to be there for your teammates. You can be with the drip and all that, bruh. You can, but you got to be a part of the team too. And people like no one ever talked about Dion being a selfish asshole teammate.
Nope.
He was always in line and lockstep with the team. But you can do both. You can build your brand, and you can be a part of the. Once you start to be over here and everybody else is over here, that's when it's a horrible look. So hopefully Zachary Evans has learned that. I really hope he has. Happy New Year, King Brad. Thank you. Oh man, y'all get. He said so. UNT, SMU, UTEP, or Rice for Amade. Man, you jumped straight. Way to get to the point. Yeah, I agree, Bill. I am glad Jake Majors is an early enrollee, but from what I hear, he has a great work ethic. And we'll see. Daniel P, good point. Daniel P said you think it was genuine or because the offer got pulled. Hopefully, I want to believe in kids, especially kids that young, and give them the benefit of the doubt. Because I do think it's hard to sit up there on national TV. For those of you who didn't see it, it's all over Twitter. In the game last night, I think it's hard to say what he said about himself and how selfish he's been. Now, it's on him to prove that. And if he doesn't, then it's going to be a whole bunch of people out there saying, "I told you so." With him, and I don't like people wasting their talent, especially when you have all the gifts that he has. I don't want to see people wasting their talent. I don't care where he goes, but just this is ridiculous. What are your thoughts on the different conferences, how they perform? I'm glad Eric Swick asked this question.
Where is it?
One of the last questions I saw.
It's on the different conferences. I don't care. I really don't care.
No. But have you noticed that everybody all of a sudden cares about conference bowl records because the SEC did well? Last
year they didn't do well.
Last year they struggled, and all I heard was, well, we didn't want to be in this bowl, or it's not all about all these excuses. Well, people are leaving for the NFL, but the moment that the Big 12, the Big 12 goes 1-5 or whatever, we win bowl games, and now everybody's like, is that should the Big 12 be worried about the national perception and what concern? But when we went 4-3 and we went 3-1 against the SEC just last season, no one wanted to hear that. Mm-hmm. So that's why I've lost interest in the conversation, because it's just like we'll never get the benefit of the doubt as a conference. And the other thing too is, as a Texas fan, we play a competitive enough schedule to where if we handle our business, we will always be in consideration for whatever's on the table if we earn it.
Yeah.
I'm never worried whether it's even if it's a situation where we're a one-loss team. We don't play FCS schools.
Nope.
We play conference schedule. We'll play a local person like a UTSA or a Rice, and then the rest of them we're scheduling Power 5 teams. So I'm not at this point, because the Big 12 people just don't like. It's funny, the national pundits feel some type of way about the Big 12, but then they'll keep plucking the NFL people. Right? Mm-hmm. You'll go and hire Cliff Kingsbury. You'll go and draft Patrick Mahomes. You'll go and draft Kyle
Five
Murray.
teams will want to interview Matt Rule.
Matt Rule wants to get interviewed.
He's turning down interviews for the NFL.
Yeah, no, we'll always play a local. We'll play a UTEP, a UTSA, or Rice, but that's like our one game. Yeah. Right? Like everybody has a game like that. I'm not saying you got to play a juggernaut every single week, but we schedule competitively.
Yeah,
I believe we added
Louisiana Tech is not a pushover. They won 10 games, right?
They won 10 games. They beat Miami in their bowl game. It's a good school.
Did they house them too?
It was like 14-0.
Oh, this is only 14-0.
Yeah, I watched that game. It's probably the worst bowl game of the whole bowl season, to be honest with you. It was it was the Independence Bowl in Shreveport. It was terrible.
DeJuan, the reason why there's a lot of Tom Herman hate is because our fans expect to be 10-win teams every single year, and that's just not realistic, honestly. The Big 12 is a competitive conference, and you have to play every single team, and that means you play
Justin's
nine
here,
different.
here trolling. Justin, we got to get you on the channel, man, to talk about Baylor. I haven't heard from you, brother. Happy New Year, number one. Number two, what are your thoughts on the Georgia-Baylor game, sir? You can't be number two in the conference when you went 1-11 2 years ago. I'm just saying. You were number two in the conference this year.
Yeah.
But
and you guys are losing a lot.
Matt
Rule, I do believe is if not the best. He's definitely top 2 coaches in the Big 12.
Do you think Matt Rule is a better coach than Lincoln Riley?
I don't know, man. Lincoln Riley has been shit in the bed on big games. Bad. I think he's a more balanced coach. I think he really thinks that he does look at all phases of the game and not just focuses directly on offense. Lincoln Riley focuses on offense. He's like, all right, I got to get a brainchild to figure out the defense for me. So if we're talking about all around coach, I'm going to go Matt Rule.
That's fair. Especially what the turnaround. Jokes aside, to trolling our brother Justin.
Mm-hmm.
To go from 1-11 to 11-1 is quite impressive.
He's done it twice.
Yeah. So,
and we're overlooking the fact of all the sanctions and all the issues that Baylor had before this. For him to inherit that and do this in 2-3 years. I mean, Tom Herman inherited a lot better situation than what Matt Rule did.
Absolutely.
And we went to the Big 12 title his second year. However, with injuries, of course, a lot of injuries happen.
But it goes to my earlier point, though. Just because you inherit more talent doesn't mean that the job is easier, because you still got to manage things differently in Austin than you do in Waco. The microscope is this big, whereas when you're in Waco, there's nowhere to go but up in the situation that Matt Rule came into. Now, he has done a better job.
Did it, though.
He did
That's
it. He
the
did
thing.
it. And he has, and I can't take that away. He's done a much better job at player development. And this is what Tom Herman said this after the season. We have to do a better job at player development. Period.
Can I interject real quick?
Go ahead.
Someone said at defense, not offense. Talking about Matt Rule, he took his third string quarterback and had him coached up, ready to play in the Big 12
At least trying to
championship,
compete. Yeah.
and they went to overtime against that same Lincoln Riley team. A third string quarterback came in and threw 2 touchdown passes, and brought him to overtime.
Yeah,
so
they competed.
If he's not a good offense coach or at coaching people up, that third string quarterback would not have been able to do that. Sorry, go back to your point. I'm sorry.
Hey, Titus, make sure you come back and keep us posted on Keely. We're getting ready to wrap here in a little bit. We're over 2 hours. I appreciate it. We're still 176 strong on a Friday night. And so I appreciate everybody tuning in. I know at first Tran and I were going to do we're just going to record a reaction to the Alamo Bowl. And they're like, let's just talk to you guys. It's the new year. Yeah. It'd be easier just to wrap over the game and talk it out. So I'm just thankful for everybody jumping on and sharing their thoughts.
I think Prince Dorba has had a pretty good week for the prep.
I agree with Bill on there. He's had a really, really good from different reports I've read as well, and some of the tackles that are there, some really, really good tackles that he's gonna. And so I'm hoping we can see the brother ball out tomorrow. Oh, Georgia's second teamers are different though.
Yeah, they were getting so much pressure on him, and they were doing the smart thing.
Yeah, and Baylor's offensive line was getting. Oof.
He didn't have time, and he's not. Georgia saw that, hey, this is a third stringer. He's not going to be able to pick up these blitzes. They blitzed him every single play, and it worked. Oklahoma just didn't do that against this kid.
Spencer, I actually did a video. We've done 2 videos on Yurcich previous to this one. And as we continue to learn more about him, we've been watching some of his chalk talks online and some of the. By the way, Spencer, Tran does a really, really good. He's already got his Mike Yurcich voice down because now we got a true Midwestern coach on the staff, and we were watching one of his chalk talk videos where he was breaking down inside zone. Can you tell us
how did he say it? He goes, "Oh, the lineman over there, he missed his block, but it's okay. We passed him, so it's not that big a deal." It's like we got the ball up the field, so we're good. It's legitimately. He sounds like a super fan. Yeah. The super fans, and I just can't wait for his offensive coordinator.
His press conference.
Yeah, Well, Sam threw the ball very well. I liked his aggressiveness.
Love you, Coach Yurcich. We can't wait to.
I think I've called the whole last half of the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, he's already got his Mike Yurcich impression down. That number 6 when he went on number 68 on the video, number 68 misses block, but it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. We got past him. It really was just window dressing.
Oh man. All right, guys. I think
that's how great practice was after we almost lost to Kansas again.
We had a great week of practice.
We did have a great week of practice.
That's what Sam said. Sam said we really.
Oh, it was hilarious! Like I was laughing when I was
feel like he was trolling.
I was like, is he being serious?
I think he was trolling. He probably did have a great, but he just wanted to say it.
Yeah.
Had a great week of practice.
We had a great week of practice. So that's why we dominated Utah.
Oh man. Bill said the only thing we're lacking is speedy receivers. We've missed a little bit on those speed guys that we've been trying to get to. Now,
I think Joshua Moore has that ability.
Joshua Moore can, but we don't know if he's coming back.
Yeah.
Now, I do think, though, the way that the receivers will be utilized, I don't think they're going to pigeonhole people the way they were in the old regime. I think they're going to move
from Hutto.
He's fast. Dejon Harrison.
He's very twitchy.
But I don't know if he's going to be a guy that's going to play like
right away.
I think right now, if I'm thinking about it just off the top of my head, Brennan Eagles is going to be your go-to guy on the outside. Then you have Marcus Washington, Alvonte Woodard, who are they can run. They're not,
I'd say Marcus Washington is that guy.
Then you have Jake Smith in the slot. So, who else? I feel like I'm forgetting some.
We do respect Jake Smith, but
I like Kennedy Lewis too.
Oh yeah, he even had.
I like Kennedy
really
Lewis. He's
play.
Underrated. I think he's a guy who we could see sneak in there. There's always some surprises too.
Jordan Whittington.
Could, yeah, why not?
There's some players that could play that.
There's some comp. Yeah. There's going to be some comp out there for those receiver spots, especially if they're going to be moving guys around. The guy that we need to make the leap is Brennan Eagles. Like, to being the go-to guy, like commanding the coverage, commanding that number one corner, commanding that safety cheating, and he's still winning. He's still winning.
Turn into your comp as Baby Dez. He needs to turn into that.
Yeah. We need Brennan, because Brennan Eagles, we've seen him run away from people this year, and we've seen him win vertically. Now, he's had some inconsistency with some drops and not running the most crisp routes. Those type of things just need to get cleaned up throughout his development. Marcus Washington, yeah, he may be a 4.6 guy, but he does play fast, and he does. I like his fluidity. And he's also a guy, too, where even if he's covered, he's not, because he can go get the football, too. So, but in terms of burners and people we're throwing over the top, no, we don't have a Devin. I don't think we have somebody like Devin anymore right now. Jake Smith is fast, but same thing. But the same thing with that we just said about Brennan Eagles, like developing that consistency. That's going to be the key with this group, and that's why whoever they hire as wide receiver coach, that's a very, very important hire that's going to be made to develop that group. Because Sam, and his senior year, he's losing Colin. Granted, he played without Colin a lot, and he's losing Devin. That's a lot of production you're losing. At least when they lost little Jordan Humphrey,
they had Devin.
They had Devin.
We got Devin. Don't worry about it. Which arguably had a better season than Lil Jordan.
Well, if we had gotten Jalen Waddle, we wouldn't be having this conversation, but we didn't.
Or
Xavier.
What's the dude from Purdue?
Rondell Moore.
Rondell, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't get any of those brothers. We missed on everybody. Yeah, he made look. It's just consistency. We've seen them. Jake Smith had 6 touchdowns this year? We've seen them make plays. Brendan Eagles had 5 or 6 touchdowns. It's just week to week. That's those goals. When you see a dude in college, when you see a dude in college catch 106 passes in a season, you're doing it every week, bro. Mm-hmm. The defense knows where you're going. When little Jordan Humphrey caught what he catch? He caught 80 something. You're doing it every week. So, and look, just by the function of running offense, somebody's going to catch passes. It just is what it is. And we've seen in Mike Yurcich's system, brothers come out of nowhere. I didn't know Aitman was going to do all that at Oklahoma State when he got 1,000 yards and James Washington got 1,000 yards. Those brothers just popped up. All right. So they'll find people. Even Avante Woodard. Avante Woodard at one point was a top 80 ESPN recruit. All right. So some of these people need to be developed properly and maximize their gifts and their talent. I only see Jameson moving back to wide receiver if it's so stacked at corner and we get and he can do something to the point we're just talking about, especially speed wise. But then again, going back to the point we were talking about earlier, Tracy, I like Jameson's ball skills if he can be developed and coached on defense. Yeah. And I think he can provide his value in the nickel competing against a Josh Thompson.
A spring ball.
Although Josh Thompson might move to safety up here, I'm hearing. I hear that he could be used kind of like a free safety in the new scheme, and they go a different direction underneath. So we'll see. Guys, we're over 2 hours. Thank you for the update, Big 12 Genius. And you're right, because I do need to head home. It is 11:20. I did hear about Kobe Boy's movement to receiver, so that's another one that's intriguing. And Kobe Boyce, for those who don't know, he played quarterback. He played everything in high school. So we'll see what happens. But I appreciate all the questions.
Who is the player you expect to make the biggest jump next year? Sam Ellinger. I think
you think he's going to make the biggest jump on the team?
I think he's going to start making passes that he didn't make this year, and I think he's gonna do the Brock Purdy the way we describe Brock Purdy, how he elevated his game. But don't you think?
I feel like Sam made a jump this year.
I still think he might make the biggest jump. I just do. I think. Well, for us to be the Big 12 champions, he needs to be the one that makes the biggest jump, because I think our defense is gonna be solid, honestly. And this is the first time in a long time that I've felt very comfortable about the defense. And you know how critical I am of the defense beforehand.
Cageonomics, thank you. My biggest jump would be Anthony Cook. I like the brother's attitude, and I think he's going to turn.
I love Anthony Cook.
I think he's going to, with this new staff, getting the technique refined, I think he's going to be a hell of a corner. So my jump would be Anthony Cook on the outside. I want it to be Brennan Eagles for the sake of everything else.
I just don't know. I think he might dominate the first couple weeks, but then people are gonna get film on him, and he's gonna see double teams, and it's gonna throw him off a little bit.
Tawan Booker said, "Come up with a catchphrase for Boss's Ranch." Hey man, I just try to be authentic in what I'm saying, man. It's however I feel at the moment is how It's how I promote the product. But I appreciate the feedback. Thank you. Yeah, Cook would be mine. Jalen Green is another one. You know, although I think he's a little further along right now as a player.
I think Colburn's already a stud.
Coburn's getting there too. To be elite.
He was stalemating double and triple teams. Like stalemating him. Like he was doing his part on the defensive line this whole year, and we can't say that he wasn't.
Yeah.
He just didn't have any running mates until it seemed like the last 2 games.
Yeah, well, Taquan Graham's coming on. Hey, look, you know, they got to challenge some of these brothers. Who wants to get paid? Y'all want to go to – when are we going to start getting the first round, second round picks again? All right? That used to be – we used to have multiple people getting drafted. We still haven't had a first round pick since Malcolm Brown. Mm-hmm. That was 2014.
It's quite a long time.
It's 2020. Come on. That alone. Now, you know.
Colburn's a sophomore. I think he's a redshirt.
Yeah, he's a sophomore. Yeah,
freshman.
Well, redshirt freshman, sophomore, whatever he is. But all these guys, like, eventually they got to get people back up first round status. That's when you know. That's when you can actually say Texas is actually back.
So how do you see Jordan Whittington shaking out next year? If he's healthy, he's an elite talent.
All right, we're gonna wrap. I appreciate y'all. I'm getting ready to post the video, like I said, for the Under Armour game, and then we'll also have the All-American Bowl video tomorrow as well. And for those of you who are NFL fans, enjoy the playoffs this weekend. I will be as well. And what else we got? Got Texas basketball. Hopefully,
if Keely commits to Texas,
we're doing an emergency.
pod.
We're doing an emergency video. We are.
Trade fanboy.
Yeah. I agree, Bill. Devin could sneak in there. I do agree with that. What else we got? Ooh, before we do sign off, we do need to do our top 10 players of the year. We started the season with a top 10, and we said we would revise the top 10 after the bowl game. So we need to do another top 10 Fanatic Perspective 10 for 10 series postseason. And then I also was thinking about if we should do a top 10 players of the decade or if we just do an all-decade team. So y'all let me know what you think about some of those videos, because I think I've seen people talking about all-decade teams for Texas and whatnot. I'm also thinking about maybe we should just do top 10 for 10 for the decade. So y'all let me know if you're interested in viewing any type of content like that.
Matthew Miller, my team is the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Horns always up. Welcome.